Here's to whiskey kisses, the peaty taste of sin. Edinburgh morning with the smell of brewing on the wind. Here's to lighting bonfires.
It's official. It's whiskey time. Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. My name is Adam Bradshaw, and you are joining us here on the Dram Association YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm no longer in the Strat studio. I am actually back where this channel began, right back in the James Bay Bothy, in my own house here in James Bay in beautiful sunny Victoria, BC. Hopefully my surroundings look a little less prison-like. I know when we first started this video, a lot of you were worried that I was actually in some kind of cell. Yes, the walls in the kitchen are a little grim. Hopefully this is a much nicer backdrop for you all. I've even got some nice lighting set up, so hopefully this will do for our brand new home here for Drinking Out Loud. Now, as much as this is an exciting new beginning, it's also, I'm sad to say, the last time, well, fingers crossed, the last time that we'll be doing a full OutTurn release video here on Drinking Out Loud. Why is that? Well, it's because next month we're going to be meeting up in person, which is very, very exciting. So yeah, take it in. This is a special occasion right now, the very last of these videos. However, it's not quite the very last though, is it? Because I'm actually still going to be recording these videos, but they won't be release videos. So they'll be a little shorter. They'll be a little bit, they'll be a little bit more focused on just quickly explaining what the whiskies are, because by the time the video goes out, the whiskies will actually already be available. So just to how that's going to work going forward, we're going to have OutTurn preview events. So we're going to have in-person events that actually happen before the OutTurn release date. People that come to those events can sneakily get some of the whiskey that they've just tasted, but we're still going to have a launch on the first Friday. And I know this is Thursday, and this bucking the trend slightly, so I guess we're getting ready for the preview. But yes, we're going to go back to launching on the Friday morning, the first Friday of every month. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we always have some of each whiskey available for the online launch. So we'll sell some at each of the in-person tastings, but allocate a certain section for folks that can't come to the in-person tastings, because we know that, especially through these videos, we've got members and we've got customers at the Strath from all over British Columbia, and maybe slightly further away as well through loopholes. And we want to make sure that we're still catering to you guys as much as we are, as much as we can, while still also obviously catering to our local clientele. So yeah, these videos will continue. Before we get to the next OutTurn, which actually, by the way, for those of you wanting to book tickets, they are available right now at stratliga.com/SMWS. You can book your tickets right this second for the August OutTurn preview events, which will happen on Wednesday, August the 4th and Thursday, August the 5th. Both of those dates at 6:30 p.m. It's $55 for a full price ticket, or if you're an SMWS member, $45. But before that, we actually also have a special event called the OutTurn, which I teased last month. The OutTurn is where we get together with a beer expert, in this case, my co-conspirator, Brett Johnson, who's recently taken over the beer portfolio here at the Strath, and we pair some Scotch Malt Whisky Society whiskies with a beer, sort of a celebration of the half and half. And we're doing some of those events in July. Coming up soon, you'll be able to come to Sunday, July the 18th at 4 p.m. and Monday, July the 26th at 6:30 p.m. And they are also available to purchase right now at stratliga.com/SMWS. And you should probably have that page loaded up anyway, because we are about to have an OutTurn. All of these new whiskies will be released in real time at stratliga.com/SMWS. Just keep hitting refresh every time I say a new whiskey's released, and at that top section with the new releases, it will be updated in real time with the new releases. This is going to be glorious. One thing to mention as well, if you are from out of town and you're wanting these shipped, you should just buy them as they come up. So I know in the past I've said that you should call us about making sure we can bundle the postage together. Well, we've realized a much simpler way of doing that is if you just pay full price for the postage for all the individual bottles, we will then bundle them together and refund you the difference from that you're saving in postage. So if you're comfortable doing that, we'll borrow some of your cash for a short period, but we'll put it back on your card again. Just to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the new releases that might be gone in a bit of a flash. You can purchase them straight away. And if you are combining postage, then we can do that for you. For those local members getting local delivery, just say you want local delivery on the first one, and then just leave us a note on any subsequent purchases saying you want to combine the deliveries, because for local delivery, it doesn't matter how many bottles you have, it's the same price. And if you're picking up in store, well, just carry on as normal. And with that, it is time to start the July 2021 OutTurn. OutTurn 117 in the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada. And we are entering a world of flavour, so saith the booklet. It is telling us to immerse in our sensory world of flavour experiences and reawaken our appreciation for extraordinary casks. Extraordinary casks. They're very important, as is extraordinary spirit that goes into those casks. And we're starting off with, quite frankly, an extraordinary whiskey. The most extraordinary #1 we've ever had. And a shout out to our friends over at Kingston Wine Market who came up with this tasting order. I'm looking forward to it. The order is wild. It's a little all over the place, and it's going to be very fun to go through. We're starting off whiskey #1 with a black label. Yes, a very, very special black label. A special black label that is called An Abundance of Hidden Delights. And I have a hidden delight right down here. It's the bottle. And let's see what we've got. Ooh, she's a beauty. Let's go through the official tasting notes, shall we? All right. So, An Abundance of Hidden Delights. The age on this whiskey from a demolished distillery was immediately apparent, fascinatingly multifaceted with aromas of stewed apples, passion fruit, honey, beeswax, earthy and tobacco notes. Yet we were all searching for something, that famous needle in the haystack. With time, we found it, that petrol-like character, which can be present in well-aged Riesling wines. To taste, incredibly fruity, almost rum-like, coconut, pineapple and mango, mysterious like a short story from Edgar Allan Poe. A little water, and we lit a tonka bean-scented candle in the dungeon of a mansion. Maybe we were reading The Cask of Amontillado. And an amazing texture on the palate, gracefully understated with a very discreet rancio flavour. Single malt from selected hogsheads, married in a bourbon barrel since 2018. So, this is not a single cask whiskey. This is actually a single malt from the SMWS, because it's an offer you can't refuse sometimes. I know that, they specialize in single cask whiskies and they try and get the best of single cask whiskies available on the market to distribute to us, their members. But sometimes you get a particularly interesting parcel of malt whiskey that has already been married together that you just can't say no to. And that is the case with this whiskey, because this is actually a closed distillery. 38.30 is the cask number, one of 249 bottles in existence. It was distilled on the 11th of July, 1994. It is 25 years aged. It's from the Speyside region, and as we said in the right there, the initial cask was an ex-bourbon hogshead, and then we put it into a final cask, a second fill ex-bourbon barrel to marry the malts together. It is 53.2% ABV, and it is a rare sighting from the old and dignified flavor profile. And actually, on that, you should have all got an email recently about how the SMWS is wanting to change and evolve their flavor profile naming, and they actually want your input in that. So please, if you haven't already checked that email from directly from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, take a look. I've already put in my answers, and they've got some interesting ideas, and so we might be seeing some new categories for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society soon, inspired by the input from the members. Ooh, okay. Well, this is very exciting. I actually, because I'm back home, I've pulled out my official SMWS glassware. I don't know if these are available actually right now. They're often available to buy direct from the SMWS at smws.ca. I know that there's new versions with the new crest, the new logo on them. These are old ones now. These are 2 logos ago, I think. Maybe I should update. So yeah, I'll take a look at smws.ca and see if the new glasses are available. And when I see that they are, I'll put a note out to all of our members to let you know, because I know that a lot of people are wanting their own set of these wonderful glasses. Ooh, okay. This is such a cool way to start a tasting. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. Lovely. Okay, we're in. Beautiful. Much the kind of colour I was expecting. Why was I expecting this colour? Well, I've actually had I've had a 25-year-old 38 from the SMWS before, a couple of years ago, probably from the same parcel of whiskies, actually. It was called Love Letters on Linen Paper, I think, something along those lines. It was a special bottle that I actually brought in from the UK to share with some friends that we put together an advent calendar together, and that was the Christmas Day dram. So yes, and honestly, that's a good reminder for any of you who are SMWS members. You're worldwide members. If you visit the United Kingdom, or if like me, you have friends and family who could pick one up on your behalf, or have one mailed to them on your behalf, you can purchase SMWS whiskies from around the world if you're able to, and you can also obviously visit the SMWS member rooms around the world as well. Your SMWS Canada membership isn't just for Canada, although I think you all know we get some pretty good whiskey here in Canada, so you don't have to look too far for a good grab from the SMWS. Oh my. I see what they mean with the old Riesling, that sort of petrol note, petrol in a good way. It's It's got this. It's a bit of a conundrum of a nose because it's both mellow and sharp at the same time. It's sharp like lemon juice, but mellow like an old oak piano. I don't know if they make pianos out of oak. Probably not, but if they did, it might smell a little like this. It's an oaken piano that has been waxed with lemon wax. Oh, it's got a wonderful minerality on the nose as well. This is just a glorious way to start tasting. Actually, start the day as well. I'm recording this in the morning. The perfect follow-up to a mug of coffee. So what other notes should we be finding here on the nose? Well, they mention tobacco, yeah. It's certainly got that deep earthiness, that big sort of honey wax as well that they mention. They do mention a lot of sort of tropical fruit notes, which I'm sure are there somewhere, but they're playing hard to get for me right now. Wow. Ooh. Oh, and that is still going. Ooh. I have to admit, this is much more rich and full-bodied than I remember the last one of these being the love letters I mentioned. That was a little bit more delicate. It was very, very good, but it was a little more on the delicate side. This is a big, so much more bold, rich flavor. Yeah, then there's the tropical fruits. They mentioned coconut, pineapple, mango. Definitely on that mango sort of guava sort of side. It has a thickness to it. It's kind of like if you've ever had a tropical smoothie, and obviously when they put bananas in there, it's kind of thick. But if you get rid of the bananas, and instead of banana, you put avocado in there, you get this beautiful, rich, thick smoothie. It's almost like a milkshake consistency. It's kind of like throwing an avocado in a tropical smoothie. That is a glorious way to start this. So yes, starting with a closed distillery. And it's actually a closed distillery that we've had before on these videos, funnily enough. We featured an official bottling from this distillery way back in, I want to say August of last year, when we did the studio sample sessions for our Dram Association premium subscribers, or as they were called then, or premium members now. Let's talk a little bit about what Distillery 38 is, shall we? Well, it used to be called Glen Grant 2. And it opened in 1898 at the height of the whiskey boom. But unfortunately, unbeknownst to them, the period of time just before a big whiskey bust. It actually closed its doors only 4 years later in 1902. It reopened in 1965 after Glen Grant became suddenly very, very popular in Italy. And it wasn't too long after that, in 1977, where Glen Grant 2 got its very own name. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Capadonic, or a Capadonic, depending how you want to pronounce it. I've still yet to see an official answer to that question. A beautiful distillery that is one of those distilleries that unfortunately didn't really get fully discovered until after it was closed. And a lot of people are getting onto the discovery of Capadonic now after the huge success that Glen Grant has had recently. Whiskey of the Year in numerous competitions. And this is an extra special edition to be able to have a 25-year-old at cask strength, picked out and finished by the SMWS. This is just wonderful. They closed down in 2001. They were actually demolished in 2011. And they're still, the ground that this distillery is was situated on is still very much in the whiskey business, though. It's now owned by Forsyth's Copperworks, the guys that make many of the world-renowned stills that are used in some of the best distilleries in the world. Distilleries like Cavalan, distilleries like Shelter Point. In fact, there's a very good chance that the exact location this whiskey was made is the same location that the stills that Shelter Point have up just a couple of hours north of here were made as well. In fact, also Victoria Caledonia also have Forsyth stills. So that's very cool. Although I think they missed a trick because they could have started a new company doing the same thing and called it Capadonic. Copper. Anyway, it was demolished in 2011, so there's definitely not going to be any more Capadonic. And the stills were actually sold off to various places, one of which are the Belgian single malt distillery, Belgian Owl. So this magnificent way to start a tasting comes, of course, with a magnificent price, because closed distilleries, they're pretty much as rare as you can get because it's a limited resource, right? There's not much available. And despite being able to get a parcel of this, I'm sure the parcel of whiskey that the SMWS purchased was eye-wateringly expensive for them to actually purchase. So yes, the price on this one is a little higher than even some of the black labels we've had in the past, but for a closed 25-year-old, it's pretty decent. In fact, I would say anything under four figures, not starting with a 2, is very decent. And this is not only not a 4-figure starting with a 2, it's not a 4-figure at all. This is $727.74, and is available in a very limited quantity right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS. There's only 5 bottles of this whiskey available, and head over there right now and pick yourself up a bottle if you are so inclined. And if you're thinking, well, that sounds glorious, but I have a bit of a stricter budget than that, well, don't fear, the rest of the OutTurn is here to save you, because everything else is a very reasonable price here today. And we're continuing on with whiskey number 2 today, which is called Super Trooper, a nice little ABBA reference. We encountered initially a rather perfumed nose, all on new leather handbag potpourri, white balsamic vinegar, chopped pistachios, aged white port, powder puff, and rice pudding. Unusual, but enthralling. Water brought out pineapple cubes, nutmeg, white jelly beans, red licorice, and freshly laundered linens. The palate was full of savoury barley broth, cantaloupe, melon, lime jelly, camphor, rolling tobacco, menthol cough drops, baking soda, and sweet juniper. With water, we found more savoury notes such as chicken noodle soup, ham terrine, dried spiced dates, spicy peanuts, and then things like muesli with dark fruits, chalk, and sponge cake. Well, that sounds wonderful. Let's dive right into Super Trooper. Here are the details. It is cask 44.134. It is again from the Speyside region. This is a refill ex-bourbon barrel aged for 16 years. It is from the 9th of June 2004, one of 204 bottles in the OutTurn, and 55.1% ABV. Now, this is going to be pretty cool. Big fan of the distillery. And we happen to have 2 cases of this one. And in fact, I can say that the Capadonic, or Capadonic if you will, is the only whiskey that's a new release today that we only got the 1 case of. So all the other new releases, we got 11 bottles to sell after opening this one. And let's tear into it. Here we go. Interesting. And there it's gone, yeah. I had a bit of a sort of a dampness smell to it when it first entered the glass. It's kind of dissipating now. Almost slightly musty, like an old towel, but it's kind of, I think that was just a weird thing for it being encaged in its bottle for a while. It seems to be lifting off quite nicely now. Oh yeah, there. It's leaving behind some lovely, lovely. Like I said, I think it's a white port. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, white port's a good call on this one. White port, chopped nuts. Yeah, that's interesting. It's got that really nice sort of light sourness to it that counterbalances that darker nutty note. Slightly balsamic-y, yeah. It mentions balsamic as well. Pineapple cubes. Good. Lovely on the nose, yeah, very nice. Ooh, and very different on the palate. Oh, wow. It's got cocoa. Straight up, like, licking cocoa. I don't think that was in the notes. Chicken noodle soup. Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm not so much getting the soup, which must have been a relatively prominent description for the panel in order to, name the whiskey after it. But yeah, I'm getting much more of that darker, more sort of like a rich dark chocolate brownie with the nuts in it. It does have a little bit of a foresty feel to it as well. They say sweet juniper in here. I'm not sure about juniper specifically, but maybe spruce. Yeah, dates and muesli. That's quite wonderful. I'm going to do something that I definitely forgot to do with whiskey number 1 today, and we'll go back and do so a little later. Perhaps give you my thoughts in the live chat. Oh, hi live chat, if you're watching along. Good to see you. One last time, we won't be having a live chat in SMWS tastings anymore because there won't be a premiere at night. It'll just be launching randomly in the morning. So thank you for joining in all of the live chats that we've had. I hope you're having a great conversation over there today. Ooh. That is a little more savory after a drop of water. I can start to see where the chicken noodle soup's coming in. I'm still a little dubious about that, but hey, that's the thing about whiskey. 30 people in a room, and you get 30 people tasting different things, right? It's not going to be the same for everyone. Far from it. And in fact, in the live chat, any of you who are managing to sample this whiskey, let us know if you're finding chicken noodle soup. I would love to know. It might be an incredibly common note on this whiskey that I just am not personally finding. Who knows? Should have got Brett here, so I got someone else to bounce off of. Oh well. One day I'll invite Brett into my house. No, he's been here before. In fact, on the very, very first video that we did for the SMWS OutTurn, at the very beginning of the pandemic, before before the lockdowns and everything, we actually did have Brett in our house as the roving reporter. He was in the yard, he was across the road, he was in my shower, I think, at one point. It was very disconcerting. But yeah. So what is Distillery 44? Well, it's a distillery that I'm sure a lot of people in Canada will mispronounce because there's a place with the same spelling and the same name as this that is pronounced here, Craigellachie. But of course, in Scotland would be Craigellachie. It is another 1890s distillery. It was built actually a little 8 years earlier than Caperdonick in 1890 exactly. It was built by Charles Doig, who was the guy that's a famous architect who I think his lasting legacy was the introduction of pagoda-style roofs to Scottish distilleries. And actually, they have some early writings that mention that the thing that they aim for in the new make spirit back in the day, and probably still today, is ripe pineapple. And so yeah, those pineapple notes that's the panel got here, the pineapple cubes, are very much on purpose, I believe. And another interesting sort of link to Canadian geography. This wonderful distillery was originally the backbone of a very popular blended Scotch in the UK called Whitehorse. Of course, we have a Whitehorse here too. One thing I don't believe we have a town named after is the blend which it is now a part of, which is Dewar's. So if you're a fan of the good, like the older, the 21-year-old or the 27-year-old Dewar's that uses a higher content of malt, this is the kind of malt that they're using. Yeah. 16-year-old Craigellachie, and this whiskey I'm launching right now, the big purple button. It is launched. It is available at strathliquor.com/SMWS for $233.83. $233.83. Lovely. Well, what's next on the docket? Yes. Next up, we have a repeat. We are going to enjoy some hill walking happiness. A clean, fresh nose of cereal and wood, tea chests, polished wood cupboards, straw, weaving looms, and my outdoor gear cupboard. Then sugared almonds, donuts, chocolate raisins to balance. Our palates tingled with ginger snaps, cinnamon sticks, leather and nutmeg, plus chocolate toffee eclairs, vanilla and cinnamon swirls. Adding water, our noses found burlap, dried herbs, licorice root, orange oil, and putty, with ice cream wafers and Tunnocks snowballs, chocolate and coconut-covered marshmallows. The palate now became sweeter, toffee, walnut whip, spun sugar, and apple crumble topping, with wood spices, beeswax, white pepper, and lemon cough drops to finish. Lovely. This is from the Spicy and Sweet Selection Collection flavor profile. And if it's feeling a little familiar, that's because we had this one, and I think it's exactly 3 months ago. And the reason I think it's exactly 3 months ago is because this is a very special whiskey that is part of, and there's a whole page devoted to this, the Giving Spirit program, which is a new thing that the SMWS Canada is doing every 3 months. They're selecting one bottle from the OutTurn and donating all of the profits from that bottle, all of the SMWS Canada profits from that bottle to a different charity. And we do have a couple of bottles left of the last one. So if you're feeling thirsty but also charitable, you can pick up the Hill Walking Happiness right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS, where it's still available. I believe, if memory serves, and if I'm wrong, I'll put this in the show notes and in the live chat. But I do believe it was the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Canada. That might have been the first one. I should have made a note in my book, and I'm very sorry that I didn't. But yes, if you're worried about which charity was selected for this bottle, I can let you know in the live chat. But this, nevertheless, is a wonderful bottle, perfectly suited for your outdoor hiking activities. And the weather right now in BC is, well, very, very hot for the last little while, but it looks like it's mellowing out. I saw the weather report a couple of days ago where it's saying for the next 2 weeks, it's just going to be sunny. Between 20 and 25 are the highs, and just beautiful, beautiful weather. So if you're planning on going on a little camping trip, maybe a little hike up the Pandafuka Trail or something, this might be your perfect companion for such an activity. Because we have plenty of hills to walk upon here in BC. Let's pour another dram of this wonderful, wonderful whiskey. So, Hill Walking Happiness is a Highland. It is from a first fill hogshead. It is aged for 11 years. It was distilled on the 17th of October 2008. It is one of 295 bottles that were fetched from that hogshead, and it has an ABV of 54.8. And as I've said, it's already available, so there's not going to be a big Russian reveal because it's already on the website, guys. And for those of you who are already rushing there, I'll let you know, just so you know, it's 161.65. It's already available. Go get it. That is a... You know how sometimes tea becomes a note in whiskies? It's a relatively common one. I rarely get a very, very specific tea. But this is Yorkshire Gold. This smells like a good, slightly oversteeped pot of Yorkshire Gold, perhaps with a wooden tea cozy over it to keep it warm. Did I say wooden? I meant to say woolen. If I said wooden, I meant woolen. And if I didn't say wooden, then just ignore me. Yeah, with a nice little plate of mixed, one of those boxes of Fox's biscuits, which again isn't really a thing here, but if you're ever in an import store and you see a big tin of Fox's biscuits, oh, they're the best. Even better than McVitie's. Fox's are made in Leicester, and Leicester is just a damn fine city. It's also where my entire family is from, so I'm actually, I believe, the first person in a dozen generations from my family to not be born in Leicester, which is kind of weird. Even both of my older sisters were born in Leicester. But yeah, the wonderful thing about a Fox's tin of biscuits is you get a whole variety. It's like those boxes of chocolates where they've got lots of different types. Much is the same with the Fox's tins. So you'll get those little sort of really the ones with the big crystals of sugar on it. That's sort of the dark, sort of ginger snap ones. I didn't mention ginger snaps in here. Yeah, I believe there is a cinnamon one as well. There's definitely a toffee one. Oh yeah, coconut ice cream. And I'm not saying like coconut flavored ice cream. I mean ice cream that's actually made with coconut cream or coconut milk. Something reminds me an awful lot of when I worked at the Interactivity Board Game Cafe down here in Victoria. If you ever feel like an extra special treat on an extra sunny, hot day, you don't have to sit inside and have a board game to be able to take part in this. They have house-made milkshakes. And the milkshakes that they actually make the ice cream for the milkshakes from scratch in-house as well. And if you get the vegan one, the ice cream that they use is coconut-based. So every milkshake you have that's vegan is slightly coconutty flavored. So if you get the coconut and chocolate one, which is funny in itself because the chocolate then makes it no longer vegan because it's got milk in it. But if you get a vegan milkshake with chocolate added to it, it's this beautiful sort of bounty flavored thing of like this really natural coconut flavor with actual chocolate. When you get a chocolate milkshake at the Interactivity Board Game Cafe, it's not a syrup, it's actual melted chocolate. It is just delightful. Some of you may remember my old social media handles, Drunken Meeples, from when I was working there as well as, touting whiskey and board games. And I'm still a big fan of board games. And I'm hoping to play a lot more of them now that people are allowed to come back to the bothy and enjoy whiskey with me here in my dining room. As you can tell, this nice new table is perfectly set up for board gaming. So, already available. Pick yourself up a bottle right now. But for those of you who are maybe seeing this one for the first time and wondering what on earth a 68 is, well, I'm actually going to keep that a secret because we have another 68 coming up in just a second. Whiskey number 4 today is another 68. This one is called Roasty Toasty Tasty. Afternoon tea, sticky, gooey strawberry jam served with fresh spiced sultana griddle scones, as well as super moist, warm, straight out of the oven gingerbread cake with a cinnamon cream cheese frosting. That was only the nose. On the palate, a seriously drunken cherry chocolate cake and a dark salted, roasty, toasty coconut toffee. A drop of water and we prepared porcini hot chocolate. May sound a bit odd, the dry porcini powder added an earthiness to this sweetness, and when we sprinkled with cocoa powder, an absolute delight. We then moved into a coffee house in Austria, enjoying Sacher and Linzer torts, as well as genuine Salzburg Mozartkugeln, bottled for the 2020 Highland Whisky Festival, a silver medal winner at London's 2021 International Wine and Spirits Competition. Yes, this is another 68, and it has a pretty picture on it. It was bottled, as it mentioned, for the 2020 Highland Whisky Festival. And yeah, winning a silver at the IWSC is a very... it's quite good. It got 94 points, which is mad. Let's try this very special edition and talk about the particulars. It is a Highland. It is from a Richard hogshead. It is aged for 10 years, so a year younger than the Hill Walking Happiness. It was distilled on the 17th of June 2009 with an outturn of 264 bottles and an ABV of 59.6. This is from the deep, rich, and dried fruits category, a category which is almost entirely sherry casks. And this one just says Richard hogshead, so I'm wondering if it might be ex-sherry but been recharred, no idea. But yeah, interested to see how this one ends up fitting into the deep, rich, and dried fruits category. Oh, wow, that colour, blimey. Holy. I don't know if you can see the colour difference there. That is pretty impressively different coloured. Wow. Wow, that is dark. Oh. Yeah, that is thick. That is jammy, but like like one of those, not one of those store-bought Smucker's jams. It's like a proper homemade, thick, dark jam. The kind of jam where you sometimes need a steak knife to get it out of the jar, you know? Glorious. Well, that's a little bit different. Holy. If that wasn't a sherry cask before it got recharred, colour me confused, because that is a whole lot of awesome. Oh my. My oh my. I can see why this scored quite well in a competition. That is a lot of very crowd-pleasing, popular whiskey flavor notes right now. This is very, dark chocolate, definitely. Little touch of cinnamon, little touch of ginger, but really not that overpowering at all. The sultanas is one of the big things. It says spiced sultana griddle scones. Absolutely. It's got that lovely, it does have this sort of nice cakey doughiness to it, but the sultanas, the sort of dried fruit, the raisins, I want to say rhubarb as well. It feels like stewed rhubarb in this one. Very kind of, I don't know, Macallan-esque in a sense. Oh yeah. Have a drop of water to that, see what happens. The only negative I could possibly say about this is it's a little feisty. 59.6 is quite high on the ABV there. And maybe with a drop of water, there'll be literally nothing negative I can say about it. Yep. Oh, and with a drop of water, the coconut really comes through as well. Oh my. Mentions a lot of Austrian things, which I have no idea what they are and what they taste like. If in the live chat anyone has ever tried Sacher, Sacher, or Linzer, Linzer torts, as well as perhaps a genuine Salzburger Mozartkugeln, which I'm sort of like a Mozart cake. Let us know what kind of flavors are in there, because that sounds kind of cool. Also, shout out to both Anne and Heather, who are big mushroom fanatics and go mushrooming with the great Bill Jones. Apparently, porcini powder in hot chocolate. Who knew? That sounds nuts, and I definitely want to try that one day, because I love a good Mexican hot chocolate with the chili powder in it. I love the idea of a nice sort of earthy savouriness from a mushroom powder in there. That sounds. I might have some porcini powder. If I do, I'm gonna try that. All right. Well, roasty, toasty, tasty. It's 68, much the same as the Hill Walking Happiness, and I should reveal what a 68 is. Also, interestingly, although this is being released a few months later, this is 6834. Hill Walking Happiness was 6841. So I guess they've had a few 68s recently in the SMWS. Funny, because 68 was probably first bottled a good 20 years ago, because it's, an earlier number. We're into the 140s now. And so we've only had around 40 bottles of it, 40 editions of it in that time. Is quite interesting. But it's a fantastic distillery, a distillery called Blair Athol. And the nutty, spicy flavour of Blair Athol is a big hit with major blending houses. Of course, mostly Bell's, who is the owner of Blair Athol. They purchased the distillery in 1933. It was originally called Aldauer, named after its water source, and is in the small town of Pitlochry, which if memory serves, I believe is where Leon Webb is from. Funnily enough, a lot of people think that the Highlands is all like, way up north. It's, the Wolfburns and the Kleinleashes of the world. No, I mean, Yes, a lot of them are, but there's actually quite a lot of quite southern highlands malts, and this is one of them. This is actually equidistant between the lowland border and the south end of Speyside. It's right in between them. So yeah, this is further south than anywhere in Speyside. So this special edition, award-winning Highland Malts edition, Highland Whiskey Festival edition rather, Blair Athol can be yours. It is available right now for $173.83. Steal of a deal, $173.83, which of course means, much like the Hill Walking Happiness, is only available to existing Scotch Malt Whisky Society members. You can't use this bottle as your gateway to the club, but a wonderful bottle nonetheless. Feel free to pick one up. There are 11 available right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS. What is next? Well, my booklet tells me that next we're having some traditional butterscotch fudge. We imagine standing in front of a breakfast buffet with a fruit basket full of ripe mangoes and papayas, next to a tray of chocolate croissants, cinnamon swirls and fruit scones. However, we decided to have a buttered warm crumpet and lemon-thyme shortbread laced with honey. When we added water, we were making fudge in all sorts of ways, adding coconut, mango and toffee, as well as traditional butterscotch. The taste was a rich butterscotch flavour with the essence of real vanilla and fudge donuts, while, in the finish, a sweet and spicy maple pecan and sultana pastry twirl. I love a good maple pecan Danish. They're really popular in the UK. I hardly ever see them here, which is weird because you guys actually have maple syrup. I'm sure most of the stuff I ate in England was not real maple. Should hunt some of those down. Anyway, traditional butterscotch fudge sounds absolutely delightful. Here are the particulars. It was aged for 12 years. It was distilled on the 2nd of November 2007. An OutTurn of 219 bottles distilled in the Speyside region, and an initial cask of a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. And I just noticed it says initial cask on the label, even though it doesn't have a finish. So maybe that's just the new labelling convention. Either way, the cask that it was matured in was a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. It was bottled at 57.4% ABV and is from the sweet, fruity, and mellow flavour camp. Yes, this is going to be delightful. We know and love the 35s quite a lot here in BC. We get a decent amount of them, and for good reason. 2 good reasons. They're available and they're delicious. Yeah. Oh, great distillery. Great write-up. I'm very much enjoying the idea of all of those fudgy, caramelly notes. Love a good donut as well. Let's see if any of that comes to fruition in the glass. Yep. That smells like something I've had. That's something I had that is North American that I've only had once. What is that? It's one of those things that's quintessentially North American that I felt like I had to try because they talk about it on The Simpsons a lot. Twinkie! It smells like a Twinkie. Smells like a Twinkie. In the best of ways. On a little more of a highbrow note, it also smells like dulce de leche. Twinkies with dulce de leche. There's a combination. Very nice. Oh yeah, I could smell that all day. There's a little bit of a spiciness to it as well. It's like a spiced mango lassi. Lovely on the nose. Very lovely. And there's that shortbread. Love that kind of a note. I love really bready kind of notes in whiskies. Lemon thyme shortbread. Spot on, guys. That is. Add a little drop of water. I want to see if I can find that maple pecan Danish. Since when have I pronounced it pecan? Pecan. I think that's how I say it. Pecan. Sounds wrong now. I don't know. I'm losing my accent. Yeah, there's definitely a sweet pastry thing going on there. Like carnival mini donuts. A very solid entrance from this very solid distillery. What is a Distillery 35, you ask? Well, many of you are not asking because many of you will know. But for those of you who are not in the know, this is a Glenmoray. One, or Glenmurray if you prefer. I think it's just down to accent. Either way, it's that one. One of very few distilleries that actually started life as a brewery. Just like Capidonic, or Capidonic, again, pronunciation, pick one. Pick one and stick to one, Adam. Just choose one. Anyway, it was built during the 1890s boom. This one was built in 1897, so just 1 year before Capidonic. And just like Capidonic, it closed during the bust. This one closed in 1910. However, it was closed for a much shorter period of time. It was reopened, I believe, in 1923. And in the modern era, has become pretty damn popular. It was owned for quite a long time by Glenmorangie Company, who also for a short period of time owned the SMWS, hence the amount of access we have to the Glenmoray casks. And these days is in private French ownership. It was a company, I forget the name, La Martinique SA maybe, it might be those guys. It's the Label 5 guys anyway, so it's used for fillings for their blends, but it's also a very popular single malt in the UK, one that we don't see here in Canada really, or at least in BC. It's also a favourite of Compass Box's whiskey maker Jill Boyd, who I had a fantastic feature-length conversation with on the last episode of Drinking Out Loud. If you haven't checked that one out, grab yourself a bag of popcorn and cozy up on the couch, because it's almost 3 hours long, but it's a heck of a conversation. And I hope some of you guys who sticked out through the whole thing enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. But Jill Boyd is a huge fan of Glenmoray, or Glenmurray as she calls it. Especially their wine casks, but also they rather interestingly do cider cask editions as well, which I'm really looking forward to trying one day. I've never had a cider cask whiskey. Hopefully the SMWS will do one. So, beautiful. The bad news is that this traditional butterscotch fudge is for it is available for non-SMWS members who have not yet been a member, because it is slightly over the 180 mark. It's 185.13. It is available right now at strathliquor.com. And I say bad news. That's not bad news because, it's definitely worth 185. It's bad news because it means that it's going to be slightly harder to get, potentially, because there are only 11 bottles of this. So if you are a member and you want to make sure that you use your membership to its fullest and get one of these before any non-members come along and become a member by buying it, now's the time to do so. Traditional butterscotch fudge, available right now, strathliquor.com/SMWS. And with that, we move on to the next whiskey in this epic tasting. And the next one is another token repeat. This one, I believe, is from, I think, March. This is Cheeky and Reeky. Yes, we're into the peat. Cheeky and Reeky. Thick plumes of black smoke bellowed from the glass, epitomizing the very essence of burntness. Through the heavy smog came notes of rosemary and thyme and substantially charred wood coated with linseed oil. The palate was chewy and scorched, wrapping rich gravy around eminently maritime components that embraced fishing nets and fishermen's raincoats in a ship's engine room. With water, we found ourselves at the harbour, sipping on cappuccinos amongst the lobster nets and fish baskets, as puffs of smoke from a tugboat blew in the sea air. The palate had sweetened and ventured into roasted chestnuts and toasted pine nuts, dotted with seaweed and a sprinkling of chimney soot. Ah, yes, I loved this whiskey the first time I had it. It's one of those ones that I'm frankly just shocked and surprised is still available on the shelf. But it's useful because sometimes you just want to throw an extra peated whiskey in there, and that's exactly the case today. We wanted to touch more peat in this tasting, so it's just very useful. We had a couple of bottles left. I think we only have 2 of this one. Cheeky and Reeky, it's a Highland. It is from a refill bourbon hogshead. It was aged for 14 years. It was distilled on the 18th of March 2005 with an OutTurn of 277 bottles, an ABV of 53.3, and is just delightful. It's available currently. It's already available. I don't need to press a big red button. It's already there at strathaliquor.com/SMWS for $181.65. $181.65 is today's price. It's every day's price. I don't know why I said today's, but there's only a couple of bottles left, so go pick it up. Again, actually, if you're not a member and you're looking at this video, and probably it's only going to be relevant if you're watching it at the premiere, because there's only 2 bottles. But if you happen to not be a member, this would be a fantastic way to become a member. You're squeaking in just over the line there. $181.65 is just over the 180 mark, so you can become a member. Your first year of membership will be included with the purchase of this bottle. That's only available one time only per person, the first time you ever become a member. Lovely. So, yes, big fan of this. Big fan of the distillery. This is a whiskey which is very much goes to prove that it's you don't necessarily get the flavors you expect from a region. This is not coastal. This is nowhere really near the coast, at least not of the sea. It's on the coast of a rather large body of water, although not large in Canadian scale. But, oh my, is that coastal smelling. Oh, there's so much maritimeness on the nose there. It is... Yeah, maritime to the max. Linseed oil, absolutely. It smells almost like someone set a boardwalk on fire. You know, the big long wooden jetties, sometimes with a little with the tourist shops on them if you're in Brighton or somewhere, or Blackpool. It smells like someone set fire to one of those. Yeah, candy floss. There's candy floss on fire. Yeah, there's old fishing nets, also on fire. And just a couple of mollusks, again, on fire. Roasted chestnuts. Sweet roasted chestnuts. That's a great note. I'm not going to spend too long on this whiskey, as it is the repeat, and we only have 2 bottles, and frankly, I'm only here to remind you how good it is from the last time we had it, and tell you how shocked I am that we still have some left. This is very good whiskey. At a very, very reasonable price. And that's something this distillery seems to do really well, is offer, especially SMWS members, a very reasonable price for their wares. A 14-year-old single malt, single cask strength at $181.65. Well, it's a 135. It's 135.21, and that is one of many codes given to Loch Lomond Distillery. And this is the eponymous Loch Lomond. This is the Loch Lomond that is made in their traditional pot stills. So this is not any of their fancy New Age hybrid stills. This is just a straight up regular pot still. It comes in both peated and unpeated variants, and this, of course, is very much of the peated one. Interesting note about Loch Lomond, I've said this many times, that it bears repeating. It existed before it existed. So, I mean, obviously the loch existed, but the distillery existed, the whiskey existed before it existed in a different universe, in the universe of Tintin, a very popular cartoon, I believe Belgian cartoon. Tintin's Tintin character, Captain Haddock, his favourite whiskey was the Loch Lomond. And of course, that actually started a decade or so before Loch Lomond did. So I don't know if they actively tried to name it after the cartoon whiskey. They probably tried to name it after the, loch. But yeah, pretty cool nonetheless. All right. Well, it's time for whiskey number 7. This is not a repeat. This is not a drill. This is the 3rd Giving Spirit bottle. This is oddly satisfying. Imagine a cold evening on the beach, starting with a fire, with planks from an old shoreline shipwreck and barbecuing honey, mustard, and pineapple ham steaks. The wind picks up, crashing waves hit the rugged coastline as a hip flask is handed around, containing a smoky, rusty-nailed cocktail to warmers from the inside. Diluted, we threw sardines and sage sausages on the grill and enjoyed them in a tomato sauce spiced with Tabasco and/or hot smoky pepper dressing, whilst gazing into the starlit night with the full moon turning more and more into a supermoon reflected in the ocean. Well, this is going to be another one of those weird whiskies which taste coastal when they're not particularly coastal. Though look, I think this one's a fair bit closer to the coast than Loch Lomond. This is another Highland. This is a Richard Hogshead matured whiskey, aged for 9 years. It was distilled on the 16th of December 2009 with an OutTurn of 267 bottles, an ABV of 62.4. And yeah, you can notice it's a little bit of an older edition. We have the old livery here. The intermissionary branding, I like to call it, because it wasn't around for very long. But it had the big stripe that made the text unreadable. It had the not quite different enough from the last version of the logo to warrant a changed logo. It was good, but yeah, it definitely felt like it was intermissionary. Is this going to be oddly satisfying? I have a feeling it is, because I love this distillery. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but I legitimately do. I actually have, I believe, all 3 SMWS 16s on my shelf back here, behind the 66s. Actually, no, behind the Glendronachs. There's, yep. No, it is behind the 66s. There it is, Acme Ghost Repellent. There's one of them. I can't read them behind other bottles, but yes, lovely, lovely distillery. Yeah. Let's give it a shot. Yeah. It's always interesting throwing the repeats in. I'm never quite sure where to put them. Because this one is from the peated category and Cheeky and Reeky is from lightly peated, I put the Cheeky and Reeky first. From the nose, might have been a mistake. The lightly peated, heavily peated thing seems to be very inconsistent, I feel. I think it's just in comparison to the other things that the panels had that day, perhaps. I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to judge. But yeah, this certainly smells a lot lighter than the Cheeky and Reeky. Ooh, that does taste like a gammon steak, like a ham steak. With honey mustard and pineapple. How bizarre. Yeah, again, very, very coastal notes. Very shipwrecky. As we mentioned, setting fire to a shipwreck, I think. Yeah. Starting a fire with blanks from an old shoreline shipwreck. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? This is oddly satisfying. But what makes it even more satisfying is the Giving Spirit program. So let me read to you the July Giving Spirit program. Despite the challenging times last year, we believed in giving back and paying things forward. So in January, we introduced our Giving Spirit program. Each quarter, SMWS Canada will donate to charity 100% of its profit from the sales of a designated bottle. The Giving Spirit bottle from our April OutTurn was 68.41, Hill Walking Happiness, which we just had again today. But all 4 bottles sold, which allowed us to donate... all but 4 bottles sold, which allowed us to donate $1,446.75 to the Canadian Cancer Society. So 4 bottles, there's 3 left. Go get them, guys. And actually, I was incorrect. The Big Brothers Big Sisters was for the January release. This charity donation of already almost $1,500 was donated to the Canadian Cancer Society. So yeah, thank you to everyone who bought a bottle, and thank you to those who might have bought a bottle since this was written. If there's any left, please do go purchase. However, that being said, this quarter, we've chosen 16.43, oddly satisfying, as the Giving Spirit bottle, with 100% of the profits going to Inspire, a national Indigenous registered charity that invests in the education of First Nations, Inuit and Métis people for the long-term benefit of those individuals, their families and communities in Canada. which I think you'll all agree is a particularly poignant charity to be giving to right now. Well chosen, Robin Kelly. We hope you'll continue to support the program by buying a great bottle of whiskey and helping a worthy cause at the same time. A new bottling and new charity will be selected in October, so keep an eye on our outturns to see which delicious bottle is selected as the Giving Spirit bottle. And and know that you're contributing to a great cause when you buy one. This, yeah. Yeah, this is glorious, and even more glorious knowing that by buying a bottle, you are helping people in the Indigenous people, the First Nations, Inuit and Métis, get a well-rounded education. Oh, that's very good. Let's get back to the notes here. So, rusty nail. I don't know. I'm getting a bit of the herbal drambuiness, but not an awful lot. I like the idea of Tabasco, though, so I'm going to add a drop of water to see if I can find that Tabasco note they talk about. There we go. Yeah, I'm not getting the spice, but I'm getting the pepperiness. Absolutely. Gazing into a starlit night with a full moon turning more and more into a supermoon reflected in the ocean. Very good. All right, well, let's talk about what distillery this is. It's peated, right? And this is a distillery which named one of their whiskey releases after a famous actor. And yes, I'm trying to throw you for a loop here. This is not a Lagavulin. This is not Nick Offerman. No, actually, and I didn't know this until I just looked this up. Apparently, Distillery 16, which is Glenturret, by the way, had a Ewan McGregor edition. Obi-Wan Kenobi had an edition of this whiskey made for him, which is super cool. So yeah, Glenturret, they claim to be Scotland's oldest distillery from 1775, but they were previously called Hosh, which is a Gaelic word for foot. Their peated whiskey, which I believe is a more modern thing, I know it's is used for the famous Grouse Smoky Black blend. I believe it was created specifically for it. Is called Ruad Mór. So this is a Ruad Mór, which is Big Red. So I guess if it was still by Hosh, they could have called it Hosh Ruad Mór or Ruad Mór Hosh, Big Redfoot. Glorious. So this oddly satisfying, wonderful Glenturret Ruad Mór can be yours if and only if you are an existing SMWS member, because this is $165.13. $165.13. Available right this second, pressing the big green button at strathliquor.com/SMWS. Pick yourself up a bottle while you can. Glory, glory, glory. Now we're finishing off today's tasting, interestingly, not with a peated or a lightly peated or a heavily peated whiskey. And this is one of those things where I just have to put my trust in the wonderful people at Kingston Wine Market who made this lineup, who chose the order of this lineup, rather. We'll finishing off with an oily and coastal whiskey, which is exciting. I can't wait to see why this was chosen as the last whiskey, but this is Sweet Filth. The nose struck a balance between sweetly roasted chestnuts with smoked almonds in a filthy maritime manner that fused seaweed and kippers with anchovy butter, wafts of smoke from burning coconuts combined with freshly baked multigrain bread as nut oils and salted cashews coated the tongue. Sweet flavours of digestive biscuits and dark chocolate faded into cold coffee and peat with time. A dash of water enhanced salty seaweed and brine aromas, now with aniseed, rock pools, and barnacles on muddy welly boots. Barbecued banana skins then arrived with the salted vanilla ice cream and brushed Brazil nuts, whilst on the finish we found toasted cereals and herbal tea. Sweet, sweet filth indeed. This is Cask number 93.145, an outturn of 227. This was distilled on the 16th of March 2012. 16th of March was my granddad's birthday. It is a Campbellton whiskey and is matured in a first fill ex-bourbon barrel for 8 long years. It was bottled at 59.9% ABV, the highest possible ABV in the 50s. 59.9. Well then, let's see what Sweet Filth is all about. Now this one has every reason to be coastal. Because of course Campbellton is on the coast, very much so, and is known for its more coastal flavours too. Nutty. But yeah, there is definitely some peat in there. I'm starting to see straight away why I think it was Evan chose this to be the last whiskey. Hi Evan, by the way. That is very praline-y. It's like smoked praline. It's like Kinder Bueno. It's like someone has like crushed up a Kinder Bueno and somehow infused it into a cigar. Not recommending that. Inhaling burnt sugar is generally a bad idea, but Ooh. That is good though. It's definitely it's very nutty. I like the cashew thing. It's cashew butter almost. Digestive biscuits. But yeah, and then that thick, oily smokiness. This is a really interesting one. I can't say that I would have put it in last place, but now that it's here, it's certainly not unwelcome. It's got a sharpness to it that the last two whiskies didn't have, which kind of cuts through, right? Toasted cereals and herbal tea. Try a little dab of the water in here. Yeah, it's got a decent thumbs up. I do have room in my Campbellton shelf. I've arranged my whiskies behind me into regions by the cubes. I don't know how long I'll keep it that way. I like to rearrange my whiskies quite often, but I do have a space in my Campbellton cube, which is actually shared with the Lowlands. A Lowland Campbellton cube. Yeah, that's very pleasant. A great way to finish off the tasting. It is. Yeah, it's both sweet and dark with that wonderful undercurrent of a salty smoke as well. Yeah, definitely a lovely way to finish. So, what is Distillery 93? Well, it's from the Campbellton region, which narrows it down quite a lot, seeing as there's only 3 distilleries. I can tell you this is not a Kilkerran. I can tell you that this is not a Springbank. And as you probably mostly already knew, this is a Glen Scotia. My, honestly, personal favourite of the region. I love Glen Scotia. I love the absolute chaos that they create from their stills. Every Glen Scotia is completely different. It's one of the smaller distilleries in Scotland as well. I think there's only 3 people working there. It's actually said to be haunted by their former owner, Duncan McCallum, who unfortunately committed suicide after he lost all of his life savings to a scam. He drowned himself in the nearby loch in 1930. And yeah, apparently, if you're into that kind of thing, you can sense his presence in the distillery still to this day. Well then. Time to hit the big red button, and once again, this is only available to existing members, a stunning price of $177.30. 11 bottles available. Though it's kind of sad, this may well be the last SMWS whiskey I ever release live, well, not live, but in real time on Drinking Out Loud. It is available right now on strathliquor.com/SMWS. And it is time for me to thank everyone for tuning in throughout this pandemic. And I look forward to still creating these videos for you, not as release videos, but as just, general tasting videos that will happen to coincide with the release. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining in our whiskey community here in Victoria, BC, and a huge welcome to everyone from outside of BC. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything on your mind that you just want to share with me, you can always reach out to me at whiskey@strathliquor.com or throw us a comment on one of these videos and I will do my absolute best to get back to you. Huge thank you, of course, to Rob and Kelly, who have done an absolutely stunning job throughout this entire pandemic of making sure that we are suitably not only lubricated but distracted quite well and kept safe throughout this pandemic. We, in a time when we're never quite sure when whiskies are going to arrive, we managed to actually put a tasting together every single month throughout a very challenging period of time. So yeah, thank you to all of the hard work for Rob and Kelly. And to that end, thank you also to the LDB. I speak ill of them far too often and don't thank them enough. So thank you to the LDB for making sure that we get these bottles, and thank you to all of our members. And I look forward to seeing many of you again in person in a couple of weeks for the Brew Turn, and in a couple more weeks after that for the August OutTurn. It has been an immense pleasure, an honour and a delight to serve you, and I will continue to do so to the best of my abilities. Sweet filth. Good night, take care, and we will leave you today with an as yet undecided track from Scotland. I'm not sure who I'm going to play for you next. It'll be a surprise. But yeah, enjoy the music, and I'll leave a screen up with all of today's new releases. And yeah, I'll be there in the chat if you have any questions. Have a fantastic evening, and I will see you on the next one. Slash about.
I've never been much of a sinner, but then again I've never been much of a saint. I'm not the kind to stick around where I ain't wanted. So it's time for this old horse to leave the starting gate. Pack my bags, pack my cases, pack a pair of old shoelaces, slide that rusty car around and back her up a drive. I'll head off down that lonesome road, singing loudly as I go. The first time in my sorry life, I'm glad to be alive. I'll do the things I never would, party like I knew I could. I'll meet bare naked ladies and we'll dance into the night. I'll shake more than I ever shook, I'll take more than I should have took. Collapse there on the motel bed in the weak electric light. So pack my bags, pack my cases, pack a pair of old shoelaces, slide the rusty car around and back her up a drive. I'll head off down that lonesome road, singing loudly as I go. The first time in my sorry life, I'm glad to be alive. I've traveled light, I've traveled long, I've traveled further with each song. Stopped in bars I never started home. I'm standing on my own 2 feet, I've even learned to pack real neat. I'm ever ready to press on. Pack my bags, pack my cases, pack a pair of old shoelaces, slide that rusty car around and back it up a drive. I'll head off down that lonesome road, singing loudly as I go. The first time in my sorry life, I'm glad to be alive. So pack my bags and pack my cases, pack a pair of old shoelaces, slide that rusty car around and back her up the drive. I'll head off down that lonesome road, singing loudly as I go. The first time in my sorry life, I'm glad to be alive.